When the St. Helena set sail around the globe for what would be the world's first gender-equal motorsport, no one could have predicted how it would alter the racing landscape.
When I was young, I was usually the only girl. It's something that I've been fighting during all my life.
It should be something that we don't have to talk about. It should be something that isn't a thing. And Extreme E is right at the leading edge of that.
It all came from one groundbreaking idea, an equal partnership between men and women.
This is something unique, it's never been done before.
The exact same car setup, the exact same course, both racing side by side to level the playing field in a bid to change history.
This motorsports is a platform where the women can really be the superstars just as much as the men.
Extreme E leads the way in motorsport and equality.
But it didn't just stop there. The chain reaction rippled through the rest of the paddock, transforming lives and inspiring a whole new generation.
There are a lot of young girls out there that need to know that there is opportunity for them in motorsport.
We need to encourage grassroots females to take this up and then to look at the girls who are in the top of Extreme E now and think, you know what, I can do it.
It's a very exciting time for motorsport, and I think the more potential that we can get for opportunities for females, the more it will grow.
Extreme E was really a game changer when it came to females in motorsport. It's not the future, it's now.
Prepare to be aggressive.
Hyperdrive now.
I'm Molly Taylor and I race for Veloce Racing in Extreme E. My career started in rallying in Australia and has taken me to Europe in the Junior World Rally Championships and European Rally Championship. And in 2016, I was the first female driver and at the time the youngest winner of the Australian Rally Championship. Competing in Extreme E has taken me to some incredible locations all over the world and some incredible racing from the deserts of Saudi Arabia to ice caps in Greenland. But it hasn't always been like this. My mum started rallying in the 1970s and her experience has been quite different than mine. Hello?
Hello?
What time is it over there?
8:06 p.m.
Oh, it's almost your bedtime.
Me? I'm the night owl. You're the early to bed.
What year was your first rally? Because I know you were 18, right? But now I'm going to...
1979, Molly.
1979. 70. Yes. But you're still competing in the Australian Rally Championship today. So I think that's a record for the longest career span of anybody. What are the biggest changes that you've seen in terms of equality and female participation and the female experience in motorsport?
The media, for me, are the biggest thing, because one of the first major interviews I did was for an article in the Sydney Morning Herald. And that was that famous headline, you know, Australia's fastest housewife. The only difference were the media at the service area coming up and asking Neil how the last stage went and asking me whether a mother should be involved in a risky sport. So it was quite different. It isn't so much the gender issue from a capability point of view. It's purely the exposure to it. It's just fact that little boys will often be interested in motorsport and then pursue a dream to race a car, whereas that's not generally the path for young girls. Well, it wasn't back then. So the main factor is just exposure.
When we did the WRC Academy or the Junior WRC, I definitely remember overhearing some of my competitors laughing at another competitor saying you got beaten by a girl, using that as a way to embarrass this driver when we were all kind of fighting for the same thing. And it wasn't until seeing that I realised what you've done for me. You've taken away that question in my mind whether or not it's something I can or can't do, because I see you there living it. You've won 4 Australian Championships, the Australian Hall of Fame. It's pretty incredible achievements as well. Is that something that you thought was going to be possible when you started?
No, not at all. If you had said to me back then, you will win an Australian Championship, not just a state championship, I wouldn't have believed it. Would not have believed it. But you know, you used to be known as Coral's daughter and now I'm just known as Molly's mum, so you win.
So watching the growth of Extreme E, from your perspective, having such a long involvement in motorsport, what do you think the impact is that it's having on future participation for females in motorsport?
You know, there's only so many positions available at the top end of any category of motorsport. And the fact that Extreme E has got the world's best drivers, but 50% of the drivers are female, has now given the opportunity for all of those women to be competing at the top of motorsport in the world.
I grew up in this sport since I was 8. It has been a male-dominated sport. I think I've raced against one female in my racing career in 26 years. And so that needs to change. You know, young girls need to see that they can race also too.
Extreme E has done much more for females, I think, than they realised that it would when they started the championship.
There were a lot of things that were appealing to us about Extreme E. First and foremost, it was a competition that required both male and females playing on an equal playing field. So to have our first female racing driver from McLaren Racing, and Emma Gilmore, is awesome.
We came up with the concept which was like mixed doubles, where every team has one car, but one lap has to be done by a male and one lap has to be done by a female. And it's really transformed the sport.
I love the way the messages are going out from Extreme E. Having a woman driver with a man driver in the same car in the same race is something unique. It's never been done before.
To share the car with a girl was something new for me, and I think it's a nice experience to work together.
Motorsport is always a difficult sport to get into, a difficult sport to reach any high level, because the investment level, the resources that you need is so high for any driver, male or female. What Extreme E has done is basically made sure that some of that seat time and development will go to female talent and female drivers, which is so important because you need that opportunity to learn and to develop it.
Having that male teammate, being able to learn from them, we all saw the progression of all the women drivers throughout the year, so it's great to see.
Extreme E has done so much for equality in motorsports. Just thinking back, for example, to Sardinia, it was our driver Michaela who was the star of the weekend, because in race 1 we were only running 3rd last lap, and she did an amazing overtake to get Katie Munnings for 2nd and then won the race. That's so cool. This motorsports is a platform where the women can really be the superstars just as much as the men.
If another female does well on track, I'm proud of that as well, because Extreme E is really challenging. So to see those performances come through from females is amazing.
To have someone like Kevin Hansen as my teammate, and not in a sense of traditional teams where your teammates, you also want to beat your teammate. You know, we have to work together, and if we can get the best out of both, it's better for the whole. So having that also unique part of it means that, you know, I have this amazing mentor next to me in the same car, data to compare with, and that's sort of from a learning perspective, you could just learn so much faster, and that's what we're seeing when it comes to, you know, out on the track.
From the very beginning, Extreme E's drive for equality focused not only on the drivers competing, but also spread to every role within the paddock, creating an environment never before seen in motorsport.
I am head of events at Extreme E.
I'm team principal of X44 Vida Carbon Racing.
I'm the senior principal race engineer for Neon McLaren Extreme E.
I'm the deputy team principal at X44 Vida Carbon Racing.
Extreme E leads the way in motorsport and equality. It's the only sport where women race against men. But in terms of my role, I'm quite determined to see that equality message actually move through past the driver aspect and actually into what we do as an event. Obviously, motorsport is typically, or has been typically, kind of male-dominated. However, there has been a huge change within the industry. There's loads of opportunities, from engineering to event management to tech and broadcast, that women can now get involved in. So really key for me is helping other females get into the industry and not to be feeling shy about doing that just because they are women.
I know personally that the female drivers and the women that work within the paddock have got what it takes to be involved in the motorsport sector, but Extreme E provides that platform and enables us to have that opportunity. So having that visibility is really key to inspire the future generations.
It should be something that we don't have to talk about. It should be something that isn't a thing. And Extreme E is right at the leading edge of that. You know, everybody's respected and treated for the job that they can do, rather than whether they're male or female. For me, I want to be judged for the role that I do as a team principal and not for the fact that I'm the first female team principal. It's a really proud moment and I've had nothing but respect and positivity from the people that I'm working with.
When I first got into racing, it was obvious that there weren't really any other females, but it wasn't really a problem for me seeing just men doing it. And I think that might have something to do with my parents always saying, for me and both my sisters when we were growing up, you could do anything you wanted and you could be anything you wanted, you just had to put your mind to it. So we were never told you can't do something because you're female. There's definitely been a shift. When you look through the paddock, there's much more diversity in the faces that you see. And I think a lot of that is down to the recognition that if you're only looking at one portion of the population, you're not getting the best people.
Maybe aren't the role models, there maybe aren't the opportunities, and maybe that young women and girls in schools aren't deciding to continue with sciences that are going to take them into engineering, or seeing women in management and motorsport that's going to help them realise that they can do it as well.
So you need to open it up. You need to encourage people to come in who are from all different backgrounds, irrespective of their gender, and they have a space and a place in the sport and the business.
Extreme E has created a template that can be used in lots of other championships and lots of other businesses. But I think sport is such an engaging industry, and it has a fan base, it has interaction, it's on social media, and it's very visible. And I think for that reason alone, it's a really great platform to show what women can do and equal up that balance.
We have come to the incredible Brooklands Motor Racing Circuit, Surrey in the UK, and this was the first ever purpose-built motor racing track, opened in 1907. Look at that incredible banking. And crucially, the first person ever to drive around it was Ethel Locke King, the wife of Hugh Locke King, who'd had the venue built. She was followed by some incredible, groundbreaking female racing drivers, the Belles of Brooklands, who broke countless records and, crucially, broke ground for our current crop of Extreme E superstar female drivers. Extreme E gave professional female drivers an opportunity at the very highest level of the sport. And today we're going to take a look at some stats which prove what an incredible difference is made to their pace. EY, one of the partners of Extreme E, produced a sustainability report after both Season 1 and Season 2. What that allowed us to do for the first time was compare the pace of the female drivers, see how much they'd improved. And it showed us that their pace had increased by an incredible 26% year on year. So let's take a look at some real-world examples, a couple of brilliant drives where the female drivers made a big difference to their team's championship standings. Island X Prix last year, Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski, 34.744 was her time through the Continental Traction Challenge, and that was 4th out of all 20 drivers. It helped her and Johan Kristoffersson secure 5 championship points for RXR, and at that point, that kept them in the lead of the standings. Now, of course, RXR's arch rivals last year were X44 Vida Carbon Racing. The championship came down to the final round, the Energy X Prix, and Cristina Gutierrez put in an incredible drive on the Continental Traction Challenge. Absolutely sent it. Her and her teammate Sebastian Loeb got the extra 5 championship points, and that was enough to secure them the title. Now, we've come further around the incredible banking here at Brooklands because we've got some incredible stats for you. We might not have the full sustainability report from Season 3 yet, but we have pulled some results from Season 1 and Season 3 so we can compare the pace of the female drivers. Island X Prix is the one we're going to use. We're using the Continental Traction Challenge to get a benchmark. Fastest driver in Season 1 was Sebastian Loeb. The fastest female was Katie Munnings. She was just 5.1 seconds off Loeb's pace. The slowest female was 8.8 seconds off. Now, Season 3, Matthias Ekstrom, the quickest driver. Laia Sands, his teammate, is the quickest female, and she's just 1.8 seconds off his pace, a massive improvement. Crucially though, the slowest female driver is just 3.9 off that benchmark. That means that all of the female drivers in Season 3 are going faster than the fastest female driver was in Season 1. Now that's after just 3 seasons of Extreme E. Where are we going to be with these incredible female drivers in another 3 seasons' time?
No stranger to the days of old is Suzanne Hansen, the mother of Extreme E drivers Timmy and Kevin Hansen and head of Hansen Motorsport. Raising Timmy and Kevin in Sweden, Suzanne made it her aim to educate them about the power of women in the motorsport space.
My mom is truly an amazing person and so inspiring and passionate about motorsport. She is the only female champion in rallycross. Not many people, know that she did that back in the day.
Yeah, my career in motorsport started in something called folk race. It's a very grassroots motorsport here in Sweden. After that, I jumped into rallycross. I did both national and international rallycross.
Yeah, I remember seeing my mom race when I was super young. It's probably one of my first memories when she crashed, actually. Then I was only 2 years old. I think the crash was in '95, the year after. But she was a European champion in '94.
When they saw me driving and knew I had done it for quite some years, it helped them to see having women in motorsport or having women drive is not a strange thing. Even my mom does it. I mean, it's something natural, it's not something odd.
She's an amazing team manager, she's an amazing mom. I'm super proud of the work that she's doing. To this day, she's really pushing other females out there and putting an example for herself, also being in a leading role in a world championship team. And that is very few females in those positions. And she's doing such an incredible job. I think she is probably the best team manager I've ever worked with.
I think since my 40 years in motorsport, I can see that there is a big change happening. And I'm so glad for that. If we can highlight any unfairness or any bad respect, I think that is a good way forward.
I can see on her, she's very proud that we have changed the landscape, and Extreme E in particular has pushed that forward. So I think that is a great thing, and it was about time.
It is not just out on track that the Extreme E drivers are inspiring younger generations. Just outside of Barcelona, Acciona Science driver Laia Sanz runs a workshop for aspiring motocross riders of the future.
Today we will spend the afternoon with 6-7 kids from different ages, and I will try to teach them some tips. Me hace un bon entrenillo. I enjoy to come here. It reminds me a little bit how I start, and it's cool to be with the young generations, to try to teach them and to show them the passion for the sport. What I like from sport, especially from trials, is that it teaches you many important values for life also. Usually training, we have really good atmosphere, we help each other. You need a lot of discipline to improve.
Per mi ha estat com una sorpresa fer aquest entreno amb la Laia perquè és una noia molt genial i en sap molt d'anar a moto i te'n pot ensenyar molt.
When I was young, I had not many female role models because on trials I was one of the first. It's an honor to have kids that sometimes they tell you that they want to be like you, and it's something that makes me really happy, but it's also a responsibility to teach them good things and good values, because at the end you are an example for them. Yo arrancaría de aquí. Something that makes me really proud is that I was kind of a pioneer in my sport, in trials. I was one of the first women to be professional. When I was young, I was usually the only girl. And now it makes me really happy when in a group like this there are a lot of girls. And I think I helped somehow to make this happen. So more than the results I got, makes me really proud that the new generations of girls, they have already an example, and for me it's a big honor.
Jo de la Laia penso que és molt valenta perquè va començar que era quasi ella sola fent trial i ens ha com fet un camí perquè nosaltres puguem també fer trial com ella i disfrutar.
Of course, Extreme E helps on the quality, and it's something that I've been fighting during all my life, because for me it was quite hard to get good opportunities. But of course, trials is one of the first motorsports to have a women's class since many, many years. And I think the improvement of the girls' level has grown a lot. I was one of the ones that start on this, and now to see all the women's and the young generations riding, it's something really cool. I've never been a talented girl. I had to work hard to improve, but at the end I really love what I did. If you believe, if you work, you can do big things.
As part of Extreme E's commitment to encourage young women into roles in top-level motorsport, they are part of the FIA Girls on Track programme, which gives local school kids the opportunity to come to the racecourse and see all aspects of the paddock.
It was so nice meeting the girls on track today. They were walking around the paddock, just getting the full Extreme E experience. I remember when I was a young girl walking around in a rallycross paddock and just talking to the drivers, it was the best thing possible. And I think it's also quite inspirational with this series that we have the gender equal lineup. We have one female and one male that work together in order to win, and for them to see that at such a young age, I think that's very good.
So the ambition for us here at Extreme E is to really show what's possible, the different roles that are on offer, and that's not just driving but also in the paddock, across the pit lane as you can see here.
Yeah, the girls are split into various groups and they're all learning different skills and they're having a great time. To come to something like this, you know, they'll remember this for the rest of their lives.
I've been involved with it since I was the age of the girls that are doing it, the younger generation. It's now being an ambassador to help encourage these younger girls to get into the sport, whether that's driving, mechanics, engineering. It's brilliant for them to actually come to tracks and see what is going on so that they can get more like, oh my god, wow, this is actually incredible, and actually see everything in person.
So the girls also had to practice the driver switch with Tamara just behind us, so that's super cool that they get to get an insight of what us drivers do.
Ooh, that was super fast!
If young girls see female racing drivers, it is really empowering, especially at something like Extreme E, because you can see a lot of their face. These are big, robust, dirty, exciting cars. They're also electric cars, and we know that the younger generation are hugely passionate about that. I think this is the perfect place for young girls to come and be inspired.
Extreme E's groundbreaking commitment to equality has not only impacted this championship, it has ignited a transformative ripple effect that can be felt across the whole of the motorsport world.
Motorsport has had a problem. It's probably the sport that lends itself to mixed sexes, and it's missed that opportunity. What we wanted to do was to create the platform that allowed females to go on into other motorsport propositions. This isn't about keeping the drivers to ourselves. This is about giving them the platform and them making the most of it.
And Munnings has nicked it. Katie Munnings takes P3. Fantastic result for them.
Yes. Katie, well done. Love that. On the line. You're on the podium.
In the last couple of years, we've seen a real shift in opportunity outside of Extreme E. For example, on the lineup of the first World Rallycross race in the RX2E category this year, 4 out of the 10 drivers were females from Extreme E, and I think that's no coincidence.
We were racing there because we wanted to get more experience for Extreme E, but also develop just as drivers. In the end, it's just 5 weekends that we have in Extreme E, and you need to be in a car, and you need to race, and you need to be competitive. The amazing thing of motorsport, no matter what you drive, if it's RX2E or if it's a circuit racing, you learn and develop every time you sit behind the steering wheel. Looking at RX2E, being 3rd overall, which I'm super proud of course, but not only that, also to other teams and to other racing series and other sponsors, really showcasing that female drivers can compete at the top level of motorsport, and having the belief in that we will perform and we will do well.
Now they're competing in the main event at Extreme E. It just means that their reach has become so much more. It's just upped their level of exposure as well as their level of pace.
Well done. Very well done. Good job, Paddock.
I also drive in a gender equal lineup in World RX, and I see the inspiration from other championships. I 100% think that Extreme E has a big part in doing that.
It's amazing what Extreme E does for female drivers. I think the concept, the way that they have to have a female driver is really, really good for the sport. I think on my side, I learned so much in Extreme E.
Jamie's an incredible athlete. I think if you look at motorsport in general, she's probably the best racing driver out there. And now in the next, she's done an incredible job.
It's also kind of forced the teams in industry to invest in developing female talent, and I think looking at the progress of the female drivers and the opportunities that have sprung on from that in other disciplines as well, we've really seen that grow so much.
Top step of the podium for Kevin Hansen, Molly Taylor.
So I mean, for myself, that's how the opportunity to do the Dakar Rally came about, to try rallycross for the first time. Then when we're seeing how females can compete in those categories as well, and the success that they're having, I think it's just something that really is gaining momentum, and one of those things that we've been able to provide a proof of concept.
I think it's one of the things we have to keep pushing. You can't just rest on a few races a year and expect to be fast every time you go to the track. You have to stay in the flow of driving, so it's really important that we're able to find those opportunities in other championships.
So obviously it was a bit of an experiment. Nobody really knew what was going to happen, but I think we've seen just from the statistics we've looked at and the pace of the female drivers, the way they're racing so much harder now than they were before. It was an experiment, and now it's very much got to be the norm.
If Extreme E can really set the tone, having young female drivers, and encourage the other sports to follow, it'd be cool to have positive change, and I think that's the key.
Motorsport has come really far. It has made big steps, especially and because of what Extreme E has done. But there is still a long way to go for us to be across the whole motorsport world to reach true equality within sport.
I enjoy the part of Extreme E that it's, you know, the gender equality. I have a daughter which is 2 years old, and of course I want her to have the same opportunities in life as my 8-year-old son had when he grew up.
If you look at the motorsport now these days, it's such a different environment because Extreme E has changed the platform for females in motorsport, and we can really see Extreme E providing a platform to require great female racing drivers, and I think we see more positive benefits from it today because the world is ready for it, and it wasn't back then, but now we are.
There's so much media and hype around women in motorsport, but actually it's always been about how far can we go. I think it's a very exciting time for motorsport, and I think the more potential that we can get for opportunities for females, the more it will grow.